Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mukesh Gupta. I work for SAP as the Director for Customer Advocacy, and I'm your host today. Welcome to the India Innovation Week celebration. The INDUS is the SAP user group for Indian customers, and it's an independent body. We kind of work with all customers who are part of the community to bring what they need. One of the asks from the community was, can we build an engagement model with startups? Can we invite startups who are in the SAP ecosystem and get to know them better and get to know the kind of work that they are doing? So we are putting together this startup engagement, which is going to be on a quarterly basis. So every quarter, every 3 months, we are going to bring startups who are part of the SAP ecosystem as part of this particular session. And the way this session is going to work is as follows. We will invite all the seven startups to come and one by one share what they're doing, what is the product that they're working on, how is it relevant, and all of that. Each startup gets about 15 minutes to make their pitch. And at the end of the pitch, once all seven startups have done their pitches, what we will do is we will create breakout rooms for each one of the startups. And the startup founders will go into those breakout rooms, and you can decide as participants which startup is most interesting to you, and you can go into that particular breakout room and have one-on-one conversation with the startup, ask questions, exchange cards, exchange contact information, so that you can continue the conversation from there on. So that's the fundamental way we are going to work. Another thing that you can also do is I have asked all the startups to kind of add the name of their startup as part of their name. So for example, you will find one of the startups is KoinEarth, and this Piyush is going to be from KoinEarth. So you'll find that KoinEarth Piyush Ganar is the name that they have. Same way with all the startups, if you can actually have your startup name and your name together, so that if someone wants to have a private one-on-one chat with you before we go into the breakout rooms as well, they can still do so. If you click on the chat, there is an option. Typically, you'll find everyone as the two. If you drop down, you can find all the different participants. You can pick the person that you want to have a conversation with and just have direct messaging with them. So that is enabled as well, so that you can do one-on-one conversation with the startup that you want to before you go into the breakout rooms as well. My request is the following: stay on till the end of the session, join the breakout rooms for the startups that you are interested in, and have those one-on-one conversations and questions. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can always put it in the chat. We'll try and address them as we go along. We also have a poll that we will run at some point in time. With that, I would like to hand it over to Pratik Mathur. I did not get your name wrong this time, Pratik. So please share with us a little bit about the engagement model that SAP has with startups, and then he will be your moderator to go through the startups. Over to you, Pratik.
Hey, thanks so much, Mukesh, for bringing me in, and welcome everyone once again to this innovation hour or day that you call it. We have a very unique format of engagement today with you, and I think it's brilliant to do it with INDUS, of course, and thanks Mukesh for putting this together as well. So I want to really start by saying that, what was the ask that we were getting from customer, and I myself, in my role of innovation and lead for innovation and strategic initiative as part of marketing team, I was hearing a lot from our customers, yourself, about how do we start leveraging the entire ecosystem of startups better alongside SAP. Now, if you look at innovation, what we were seeing and what customers were asking for is that while the innovation is happening, there were multiple pilots. They are failing two tests. They are failing the test of scales, and they are failing the test of bringing the business value. And when we started digging deeper on where exactly the problem was, we realized that, of course, the startups do a great deal of work, and all credit to kind of commoditizing the way innovation that they are doing. But at times, the solutions need to be architected in a way that it can scale from the word go. While the pilots are successful, how do we go beyond? And that's where I think the customers are expecting SAP to step in. The second thing that we were actually also seeing was that how can we actually bring business value, and that was only possible if you don't look at a piece of innovation in isolation. The innovation that you're doing, whether it is AI, ML, IoT, or any of those deep technology application areas, unless and until it comes back to the core process, it would not really work in tandem in bringing the true value of what it can for a business. So better ROI on the investment for the second ask that was coming up from the customers. And what we did was, and most of you might be aware of the innovation programs that we run. There are, as a part of SAP Labs incubation program, there is a startup studio where multiple startups have worked in terms of not only adopting and seeing how scalable SAP technology can bring in value to the customer, but we are also working with them as part of our SAP India initiative, ensuring that we introduce the great work that they have done and bring it to you, right? So, so all the startups that you've been seeing today they are also part of the cohort from the SAP Startup Studio. Some of them are coming from SAP IO, which is another accelerator program that SAP has, and these are the programs which are not only helping bringing technology framework and help and support to our partners, but to our partners we also bring support in terms of how do we ensure business continuity, how do we ensure that we work with them in bringing the value to you so that you can start enjoying the benefits of the innovations that they have made, right? So that's the key point that I wanted to set as basis of why we are doing this. As this is a series of engagements, so hence we want to engage more and more with you as we progress, and that's where I think I would want to. If you have any questions, I would just request you to keep this session interactive through your chat sessions. Like I think Mukesh has emphasized on this point, I want to write it again and use the opportunity for you to engage with the startup is here, with the partners are here, the founders of the startups are here, the technology teams are here. So make sure that once these sessions are over, you stay on and engage in the end with them through the breakout sessions. So with that, I want to invite our first partner, TheMathCompany, and we have Ranjeet Kumar. Ranjeet and MathCompany has done some stellar work in the area of bringing data-driven intelligence. What they are doing and how they are doing it, Ranjeet, over to you.
Thanks, Pratik, for setting the stage. It's a privilege to be here in this community talking to you. We always wanted to find a forum where we could interact with some innovative minds like you and share our ideas and work with SAP in scaling some of the innovations that we have been building. And through this session, I want to demonstrate to you what we do for some of our customers today and how can we engage further through SAP conversations in the near future, right? So that's it. Let me get started. So I'm Ranjit. I lead customer success for TheMathCompany. So for today, I wanted to walk you through what we do and how we do it for some of our customers. And at the end of today's discussion, towards the end of today's discussion, we have a breakout session where I would walk you through some of the demonstrations of the solutions that we have built and be taking up some questions that you might have to engage and take this further. Right. Without further ado, let me get started. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. So we are TheMathCompany. We are one of the world's largest solution providers when it comes to analytics. So we engage with over 45 plus Fortune 500 companies. And we are globally present in over 15 plus countries with our headquarters in Chicago. But our most of the development base is based out of Bangalore, where we have a team strength of close to 600 out of a total strength of 750. With offices in Chicago, Dublin, and Bangalore, we are able to cater to most markets in North America, Europe, and some countries and regional establishments in APAC as well. Right. So the work that we do has helped us scale significantly over the past 5 years of our presence. In fact, we completed our 5th anniversary quite recently. And these are some of the accolades that we've been getting. In fact, some of those from our competitors, some of those from recognized tech firms globally, recognized global audit firms, which have positioned us as one of the fastest growing analytics firms and fastest growing tech firms in Asia. We have also been recognized as some of the top 10 data builders when it comes to data product builders in 2020. And we have some of the best talent that have been helping us grow over the past years, and some of the testament to what we've been doing so far is also due to them, with several people who are part of 40 under 40 data scientists and some of the top 10 data scientists in India are working with us to help us in this journey as we scale. Now, what we do for some of these customers is that we build industry contextual AML applications. Right? What I mean by that is we have a specific suite of contextual assets which are powered by machine learning algorithms, which have comprehensive workflows connecting from the data sources that enterprise data sources that our customers have, all the way until enabling consumption for them and everything in between, right? Which processes the data, builds machine learning models on top of it, and presents the results in a format which is consumable for them. Right, where we felt there was a gap was building the translation layer, right? So in a lot of cases, we felt that there were these data firms which were helping organizations effectively use the data. Then there was these consulting firms who were helping make change management practices possible by building best-in-class solutions or consulting to provide the right next steps for them, right? But connecting these and making sure this works seamlessly in the existing infrastructure that the customer has was a clear gap that we saw, and we started working on it over for the past 3 to 4 years. Right. So what we have built is the orchestration layer, which enables everything from the enterprise data sources all the way until a way in which the results can be consumed. So some of the functional areas where we have greater maturity in includes supply chain, sales, marketing, and post-sales support, including operation support. So in these areas, what we do for some of our customers include solutions which are strongly backed by AI and ML, such as commodity price forecasting, able to predict the right price in which you want to buy your raw material commodities from different markets and be able to effectively manage your spends when it comes to procurement. Now, when it comes to effectively managing your spends, you will want to evaluate the suppliers, you will want to know what is the demand, and you will want to know what is the range that you want to have to be able to effectively manage it successfully, right? So what we have is a comprehensive suite of products which work seamlessly with one another, and this it integrates effectively with your SAP infrastructure system to make sure that the integration time that we have is very, very low. Right. So apart from the supply chain work, what we also do is in the space of sales and marketing. So in the space of sales and marketing, we do a lot of growth planning related work, right? So where we build out specific products which help in figuring out which help in figuring out the right targets that you want to set for your specific categories or specific markets which you want to go after, and help you achieve them through solutions such as pricing, promotions, and assortment suite, which will help you invest in the right places to get the maximum return. Not just that, in a lot of cases, your marketing organizations have to effectively invest in media channels to get the most out of them. So we built a lot of solutions in the marketing space as well, including solutions in marketing mix modeling, customer lifecycle modeling, and digital growth opportunity modeling. So apart from this, there are lots of solutions that are built in the operations and post-sales support as well, which include omni-channel customer journey mapping, which help us understand what would be the right next recommendation for a customer that we need to provide, and how can we effectively engage with them so that they continue to retain with us for a long run, and we are able to get the most and deliver the most value for each of our customers. So that said, I hope this gives a very high-level idea of what we do for some of our customers. Let me quickly quote how we do this for our customers. So what we do for our customers is a combination of this particular pre-built platform components over and above which our team of experts configure these solutions to the needs of our end users. Right? What I mean by that is, so these pre-built blocks have a lot of components which include data connectors, model builders, model evaluators, and result presenters. Now, these can be connected effectively to different data sources. Right? These experts help them connect to data sources and configure the consumption layer to be able to use them effectively for the end business stakeholders. Now, that said, they do this with the help of our AML platform, which helps them easily plug and play some code modules and deploy them in the form of a web application. So what we have is pretty much that. So we have a technology wrapper, some plug and play modules, and pre-built analytical workflows, which help us build these solution components quite quickly. So very briefly, this is how our architecture looks like. And I hope given this audience of tech users of SAP, I wanted to spend some time on this telling you how we work, right? So our solution composes of three main blocks: an analytics engine, which I spoke to you about, which works on Python, RStudio, or uses SAP BI to effectively build solutions ground up, analytical solutions ground up. And these solutions are rendered in the form of a web-based application using an app builder and served to the end user using DevOps process. Right. So now these have strong SAP integrations, and it connects to your existing enterprise data sources. SAP or non-SAP, it connects very seamlessly to a lot of these data sources and to some of your visualization interfaces as well. Right. If you have existing visualization interfaces, the results can be presented in the form of visualization interfaces. So with that, I'll pause and hold my conversation for now.
Thanks so much, Ranjeet. And Ranjeet is available for a conversation one-on-one in the breakout room. So again, I request once again, so who are interested to have a conversation with Ranjeet and his team is there. You can continue to chat with him and his team through the chat functionality. Now, next on is Arun. Arun from KoinEarth. Arun, can I have you on the screen, please?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hi, Arun.
Hey.
And KoinEarth is again doing some phenomenal work in the area of blockchain. And today they have you picked up digital supply chain as one of the areas where they have been doing some work. So without taking much time, Arun, why don't you take it over from here?
Yes. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, the slide is visible?
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much for the opportunity to address this audience today. So my name is Arun. So I'm the Director of Growth and Customer Success for KoinEarth. So before I proceed, just a bit about the company. So the KoinEarth is about a little bit more than 3 years old. So we are a Singapore-based company with a wholly owned subsidiary in India. We are VC funded. And as the introduction said, we primarily focus on blockchain technologies as a technology to bring people together. And we do focus on B2B scenarios, and that also is encapsulated in the name of the company. So KoinEarth translates to shared meaning. There's a story about that on their website. I encourage you to check it out. So moving on with the actual topic. So since we are a group of SAP users, I'm sure all of you know, we have deployed tools like SAP to digitize operations within the enterprise. This is, of course, a long-standing effort, and it is a fantastic effort, and it has brought a lot of benefits to enterprises all over the world. But as we proceed into the future, there is a certain need for leaders to digitize not just the enterprise, but the entire enterprise ecosystem. And I think there is no better example than this COVID crisis, which has actually shown that plugging together all the gaps in the supply chain is actually critical for survival. So in this little GIF that I'm showing here is sort of a representation of reality, where it's not just the enterprise, but the entire enterprise ecosystem transacting with each other in their day-to-day business. You can see some documents floating around, some emails, some phone calls, shipments, all that. Of course, there are, ERP systems, but it is the gap between the enterprises which we are really focused on, and we believe this is an imperative in the coming days. And the reason for that is this cross-enterprise digital ecosystem, or a creation of that, will be a tremendous source of value. So according to McKinsey and Deloitte, we just fished out some numbers from their reports. So for example, $77 billion of value could be created by integrating the supply chain in the automotive industry, for example. 60 billion for deep tier supplier integration, almost 10 billion if improvement in communications leads to reduction in inventory. I have a case study on this, which I like to mention later. Almost 5 billion for near real-time inventory monitoring, etc., etc. Another number, almost 200% higher EBIT growth as compared to industry is possible when there is a strong integration with your supplier ecosystem. The reason for that is operating costs come down, greater profitability, and higher growth for everybody. Some organizations around the world have already started working on this. Of course, we have a preference towards blockchain technologies to do this. So we have listed here some examples of blockchain digital ecosystem building exercises that companies have taken, and there is tremendous value to be obtained here. So at this juncture, I'll introduce our product. So our product is called Markets N. So that is the regular English word markets followed by n.com. You can check out the website. So essentially, we enable the creation of digital ecosystems for cross-enterprise collaboration. It is built on blockchains and it is ERP compatible, for example, with SAP. And the picture on the right is the contrast to the original picture that I showed you, where the transactions are a little bit ad hoc and a little bit confusing. So here we bring uniformity, we bring homogeneity, and we bring ease of transactions across the ecosystem between the gaps in the company, and not just focusing on efficiencies inside the company. So it is in the gaps between companies where Markets N lives. So how do we do this? So the picture on the left can maybe give you a hint. So we do this in two primary ways. The first way is to create what we call as a B2B group. So the picture on the left should resemble your WhatsApp chat window. And this is very, very consciously done. So like how WhatsApp has made it extremely easy for us to coordinate between individuals for whatever purpose. For example, you may have used a WhatsApp group recently to coordinate with your alumni members, for example, for some sort of meetup. Imagine how it would have been before this, if you just had to make phone calls, right? So similarly, we bring transaction ease in a Markets N group. So companies can join the group, they can form a group, and then inside the group, we have pre-built B2B workflows to digitize operations as well as finance. And the goal of this is to make it as easy as WhatsApp is for communication for business to business transactions. So this is the first way in which we do it. The second critical thing that we do, and this is where the blockchain technology really comes to the fore, is a simple shift that we have enabled. So, of course, previously we used a lot of paper to indicate transactions and important business documents, which is ultimately the sign of the transaction. Of course, we have digital versions of it now. I'm just showing you an invoice as an example, paper invoice to PDF, for example. But still, these digital documents have to be exchanged on emails. Maybe there might be some sort of an EDI bridge, but even that doesn't extend to the whole ecosystem among the best of companies worldwide. And of course, the PDF is created by one enterprise, but then it has to go through some verification validations. And then there are a lot of problems associated with this. But it's still a great improvement over the years. Now we are taking it to the next level. So from the idea of a PDF, but PDF is just a placeholder word. It can mean any other digital format, of course. We are taking it to the next level. For us, So for us, a digital document on the blockchain is a shared document from the get-go, and it is a live document, and it comes with an audit trail. So these are extensions to what is possible with your regular digital document. I'll explain this in the next slide so that it becomes clear. So this is just a zoomed in image of what I showed earlier. So this is the invoice header on Marketson. I abstracted out the rest of the invoice because that's not very important. The first thing to note is from the get-go, this digital document, which signifies the transaction, in this case an invoice, is shared here between two organizations, the buyer and the seller. So in a sense, this gives the user experience of a Google Docs, for example, as opposed to a Microsoft Word. All the parties, and only the parties who are permitted to see this document, has shared visibility. And this visibility is extensible on demand. For example, if the invoice is to be shared with the bank for supply chain financing, it is a simple one-click process, right? So this is a fundamental differentiation. The next one is what I called as live document. So the documents on our platform go through a life cycle. For example, here the invoice is created, then it can be approved, then partially paid, financed, fully paid, closed, etc. All this is also captured as part of how we maintain digital documents. Then the audit trail is a very crucial part of our work. Every digital document on Marketson has an inbuilt audit trail. In the audit trail, we capture which company. Remember, this document is a multi-enterprise document. It's not just for one company. So it has shared visibility, and multiple enterprises can act on it, as is always the case. For example, you raise a purchase order, the counterparty has to accept, right? So like that, we maintain a string of actions which enterprises have taken along with timestamps, as well as digital signatures, and with a make or check philosophy, so that ultimately the data that we store on our digital document can be trusted to be true, to have gone through the eyes of all the relevant parties, and can be final. We have a smart contract system enabled on the blockchain, which you can be used to embed contractual terms, for example, in a document. For example, if quality is not up to the mark, a credit note is raised for X amount. So that contractual term can live inside the document, and it can be automatically enforced. And then last but not the least, we hyperlink our documents together so that you can trace it easily in real time. For example, the PO is hyperlinked to the GRN, is hyperlinked to the invoice, for example. So given this nature of our solution, a few important benefits are possible lying on top of some key value propositions. The first one is, as I mentioned earlier, to create digital ecosystems for B2B coordination, the gap in between companies, as I said, and we can integrate with ERPs. The second one is new forms of digital finance is now possible for enterprises and SMEs. And the third one, I suppose many of you hopefully may have seen it in the recent news. We use NFTs, but in an enterprise context for creating new business models, as well as data monetization, etc. Let me take you through the actual benefits. So for digital ecosystems, you can track your order, shipments, payments across the supply chain, no matter how many tiers of suppliers or vendors or retailers or distributors you have, absolutely no problems. You can adapt to disruptions with coordinated response, because everything, including inventory, is now tracked across your entire supply chain ecosystem. And this will enable you to react far more faster. You can automate reconciliations. The invoices now tend to match the operations far more closely, and it can be automatically approved, for example, based on your rules. And with respect to the finance vertical, due to the audit trail available and the live nature of our digital documents, this represents reduced risk for banks and NBFCs to provide supply chain finance. One can collateralize any document on Marketson if the bank is, of course, willing to accept it as, of course, input for a loan. For example, the invoice that I just showed you earlier, as I said, it's a single click to share it to the bank, and the bank can trust it because it has been digitally signed by all the enterprises necessary. And then finally, new forms of financing is possible. For example, Dpr Financing is something that we are really seeing some traction in the market. I guess it's due to COVID that the large OEMs are getting very concerned about the financial strength of the tier 2 or maybe even the tier 3 suppliers, and we are in discussion with banks to enable this on our platform, which is just a trivial extension to your standard invoice financing that we already with NFTs, for example, one can monetize data with something that we call as a digital product passport, where you can tag products with the NFT and it collects data through its lifetime. And then you can use that to monetize it in interesting ways. I'll give an example to make this clear. You can upsell products by attaching ESG certificates or sustainability certificates, and you can track each and every physical item through your supply chain. For example, an iPhone or a key spare component, for example, right from the start all the way to the retailer. You can physically track that using a track and trace feature. Right? So to end with some case studies, for the digital ecosystem vertical, we have been working with Aditya Birla Hindalco Group for the longest time, where they use us for multiple purposes. One of it is mentioned here, to coordinate logistics operations and to enforce complex logistics contracts with transparency. Here we have formed a group with buyers, logistics providers, suppliers, for example, and then you can expect a 98% improvement in SLAs, which translates to a few crores. Another example that I can give you, which is not on the slide, due to the inventory visibility created on our platform across a 4-tier supply chain, we managed to provide them with the benefit of 8% reduction in inventory without a drop in production. So that's another benefit that we have provided for the Hindalco Group. So with respect to finance, we are working with a company called Samanati, which is a Chennai-based NBFC. So they are using MarketSend for invoice financing, and they serve farmers as well as farmer producing organizations, and they connect the farmers with their buyers, for example. So that you see financier, buyers, as well as suppliers who are the farmers. We expect them to see a 30 to 40% increase in cash flow due to the streamlining enabled by MarketSend on the process of invoice financing. Then this is our most recent example. We have recently entered into an agreement with MG Motors. It was in fact in the news recently, where we are going to use an enterprise NFT to tag each new vehicle that's going to roll out of MG, to be specific, the Astor, and that NFT combined with the ledger will record cradle to grave data about the vehicle. And then this data, for example, service data, accident data, driving behavior, etc., is now recorded on the blockchain. And then now this data is valuable. This can be shared with for example, an insurance provider or the secondary market for the insurance provider to provide lower insurance premium, or maybe on the secondary market, the owner of the MG vehicle can demand a higher resale value, for example. So as you can see, it's like a broad cross-section of possibilities. The platform is extremely flexible, extremely customizable, and at the bare minimum, we basically work with data on the blockchain, and we enable new business models as well as digital ecosystems for supply chains. There are various possibilities. If you are interested in any of the possibilities, we can of course have a deeper conversation. Please join me and my team in the breakout room, and I'll be very, very happy to speak to you.
Thanks so much, Arun. And I think this was really insightful. In fact, the best thing about it is how to create the ecosystem of suppliers and bring them together. And I'm sure this is very valuable in the current times that we have, right? Where we can actually have trust on the information. People are working from home. How do you build trust in the data which is going out? How do you do it? So absolutely very powerful solutions there. Now, I think I have, and I would request everyone who's not speaking to put themselves on mute. Thank you. Moving on, while we have talked about transparency across your supply chain, trust across your supply chain, now it's time to talk about your own in-house manufacturing itself. How do you make your manufacturing more visible, transparent, efficient, and autonomous? And to do this, to take us through this conversation, I want to welcome Harsimrat Hasin, co-founder of Neewee. Harsimrat, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you put you on your video? I think we'd like to see you as well.
Yeah, sorry. Hi. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Harsimrat. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO at Neewee. I'm based out of Netherlands. And I just wanted to walk you through in terms of what we do at Neewee to essentially help manufacturing companies improve on their performance, either from a yield, productivity, working capital perspective, by using the power of IoT, AI, and process digital twins. And if you look at this whole concept of where digital twins come in, and digital twins is a very commonly used term. It's, I mean, at its most basic, it is just a replica in the digital world of what is happening in the physical world. But fundamentally, if you look at process digital twins, what we're trying to say is it's looking at manufacturing in its entirety from a digital twin perspective. Because manufacturing is a set of fundamentally interconnected processes which work together to deliver an outcome. So they are working, whatever happens in the first part of the process or in the first work center or the first chemical step or the first process step can have a significant impact further downstream. Although within each step of the process, things are most likely to be within 99 to 95% within the operating range that you have specified. So in spite of that, you still have problems which are come up towards the end of the manufacturing. It could be problems related to yield. If you're looking at it from a chemistry perspective or a biochemistry perspective, it could be related to impurities. It could be related to quality output, various things which can happen across the thing. And primarily what is the reason for that is this whole interaction that occur at each step. So we've taken a very process-centric approach from an IoT and analytics use case perspective. Our intention is to model these processes as process digital twins and be then able to apply our what we call the Bodhi AI apps. Fundamentally, these are productized AI applications which can work and sit on top of existing IoT platforms or existing analytics platforms and then deliver value very, very quickly. And so fundamentally looking at things from a very across the board. Now, when I talk about our AI apps and industry solutions, what are they? And they're fundamentally distributed across three sets of apps. And when I call them three sets of apps, they work together in relationship to each other. The ones that I will spend a little more time today is what is called the golden production run. So essentially, what the golden production does looks at is all your operating parameters within your manufacturing process to understand the specifics of those interactions and say which is the most optimum set of settings to apply at each stage to achieve consistent outcome each and every time, fundamentally impacting yield up to very significant levels. And this is primarily geared towards chemical and biochemical processes or the process industry. The other side of this is when you look at it from a discrete manufacturing perspective, then it's the equivalent is the predictive quality, where just looking at the interactions that happen at each step of the process, looking at each work center, what were my parameters, what were my process conditions at that point of time, what were my machine settings at that point of time, what was my external seasonal factors that were impacting. And again, from each work center to each work center, being able to then replicate this to say, okay, what is the my end quality look like? So being able to then say, work center 1, this happened perfectly within specifications, everything going right. At the end, I have a quality issue. Being able to predict that and understand and catch that much before it happens, so that then you can manage it more proactively than managing it reactively. The other two sets of applications are around what we call the integrated micro-planning and the allied app of WIP inventory reduction. Now, most manufacturing companies have planning solutions in place. But there's a fundamental challenge with the way the planning process works. Typical MRP is run with plan to infinite capacity. So it takes demand from one side and it assumes that I'll have infinite capacity to be able to deliver to those demands. That's one. The second challenge is not being able to understand what is happening currently on the shop floor and be able to react to those variations that are coming in. There could be a machine which is broken down. There's a process which is probably taking the typical takt time for which is 10 hours, but it is taking 12 hours at this point of time. So how does my planning get impacted? So that is why we call it integrated micro planning. It is at very smaller schedule hours. So typically a time horizon of 2 weeks to up to 3 months, which can then be tied up with your broader MRP run plans, and as well as to integrated schedules at the shop floor level. Then the other two apps are primarily apps which deliver in terms of giving you information on what is happening on the shop floor. So they are in terms of your production performance. How is my OE performing? Where am I getting bottlenecks, and I being able to identify those bottlenecks to be able to see, okay, and say what is the things which are impacting those. And last but not the least is the predictive maintenance. I will not speak a lot about that. That's pretty well understood in the marketplace. I will spend a little bit of time to explain the golden production application. I'll do it with the context of both a discrete as well as a process industry. Now, fundamentally, if you look at it, the base problem is most manufacturing companies have what is either called the golden batch or the golden process, where you have a fixed set of parameters which are defined to operate within a certain range to give the best and optimum output. Now, the challenge is all of this is designed at a lab setting. Now, and with the lab setting to the scale up that happens in an industrial scale, there is obviously variations which come in. Secondly, whenever a particular batch is running, it is running at a certain, there are certain interactions which is happening and certain things are going on within that batch, which may or may not be with the particular standards defined with the previous, the defined golden batch criteria. So how do you really take that and build that along the process to expand this out to say, okay, now this is what has happened. How do I compensate for it, or what are the things that I need to do to be able to then do that? Then because of this, you have different yields that come into the process. So the same chemical process or the same process might give you a 70% yield at one point of time, and maybe 65% the next day, and 75% the day after. So how do you really compensate and say, okay, how do I get the same 75% yield at every point of time? The second issue that can come because of all of this thing is in terms of quality performance. So do you have impurities coming into your processes, and how does this really impact? So that's the core problem area that essentially the golden production and the golden predictive quality applications are trying to identify and add. And so how do we add value? Looking at past historic process data, we generate the process digital twins. We identify the parameters, and these are not just process parameters. So we're not just looking at signals from the machine or your DCS system or your SCADA system, but also signals from your ERP system, signals from your quality system, signals from your raw material quality or raw material things, signals from the seasonality, what is happening there. Combining all of those together at each step of the process, breaking the process down into smaller chunks and identifying what are the things that influence the ultimate end outcome. And with those, then we start giving real-time recommendations as a batch is being produced and identify the right set of recommended actions that would be there. How do we do this? We do this by generating different kind of features, creating a scorecard. We are obviously not the experts in your processes. So what we do is then work with your SMEs to identify the actual parameters from one is which our AI models have identified to one which are really the contributing factors from a process perspective to come up with the golden thread and then validating it, and so that it becomes something which can run on a very consistent basis continuously. So typically, we've seen this deliver impacts of production improvements about 8 to 10%. We recently went through a full validation exercise of the solution, which was deployed for one of India's largest and probably one of the largest globally agrochemical companies, where for one process, we had shown an 11.25% improvement in the yield, just by being able to identify what are the specific parameters which are impacting those. And so what has happened as an outcome of that is they've been able to change and tweak their process, and they are now consistently getting an uptake of about 11.25% increase in their production output. The similar solution, we've deployed it in a couple of sites for a global pharmaceutical company where they do API manufacturing for the sites in Frankfurt and Italy. Again, being able to identify process steps which impact either yield or chemical conversion or introduction of impurities, giving ROI up to 20x the solution value that is there. Fundamentally, how does this work? So our Bodhi AI apps essentially sit on top of in this case, the SAP BTP platform, and that is the point of interface. They can work across the board, take data from the SAP BTP platform and be able to then work with not just level 1, level 2, level 3 data, but also other signals that are coming there. Most of our algorithms are developed ourselves. So we use what we call the process memory algorithm. That is something that we have built out on our own, with a lot of reinforcement learning going into the process to be able to feed back into and drive optimizations and real-time improvements that could happen in the process. This is typical deployment architecture. So on top of we've built out our connectors, which sit on top of the SAP BTP platform, take data from SAP platform. Our AI apps, which fundamentally perform the process of data engineering, data quality, feature engineering, and the specific models that are run, essentially sit alongside that. And you have a data exchange, which is working both ways to be able to have one single source of truth residing within your BTP environment. Before I close, some of the key customers that we have worked with, like I said, we have our solutions deployed globally. We've worked with one of the largest aviation OEMs where we are monitoring their manufacturing process to be able to identify quality gate action items much before they occur. We're working with one of India's largest steel makers, again, to be able to say what are the process parameters to have in place to give you the maximum output, considering the raw materials as well as the fuel that is being used. So coal is a very commonly used fuel, and depending on what kind of coal you get, it can have a huge impact on the output that gets generated. So how do you maximize output considering even lower grade coal that could potentially be used? we're working with, again, a fairly large Dutch beer manufacturer for some of the plants in Belgium as well as in Mexico to identify bottlenecks within their beer filtration processes to say, okay, what are the things that can be done to help improve the quality. We've been a part of SAP Startup Studio since last year. We are now also an SAP PartnerEdge partner with a solution fully deployable on top of the SAP platform. I'd be happy to take any questions either now or later in the breakout room. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Simrat, and really from aircraft to something as core as steel. If it comes to manufacturing and optimization that and doing it in close collaboration with SAP systems that's been deployed, that's what Neewee brings to the table, working on top of business technology platform. Thanks so much, Harsimrat. Before I move to the next partner, I just want to, again, for those of you who has joined us after the opening, I want to tell you that our startups which are presenting today are available on chat. And there's a reason why we have done it in a meeting format here. You are open to have a conversation with them. You can when you look at them and you search for them, you will see the name of that startup. The invites that you have will have also the relevance of some of the startup conversations that you might have mixed so far. We had MathCompany, Ranjeet Kumar from MathCompany talking about data-driven intelligence, AI, and how they have really created components of AI to be able for fast deployments, and how you can leverage it across your business processes. We talked about with KoinEarth, Arun join us from KoinEarth. He's available for conversation along with his team. Talk about blockchain and some of the key insights into how he is using that to digitize the entire supply chain and connect it together as if you're on a blockchain WhatsApp kind of a channel, and much more. Please look at that. And we just had Harsimrat from Neewee talking about how he's using the same platform, business technology platform, and some of their core APIs in bringing visibility, transparency, and efficiency towards in the manufacturing processes. Now, moving on from there, now what if your dashboards they are intelligent, by the way, if they get the mind of their own and they start interacting with you in a way that, hey, you know what, Pratik, you're supposed to possibly look at your customer sales number right now. You should probably pick up a phone and call someone. What if you bring in intelligence into it, and they start that? And what if they bring this capability to the sales guys who have an assistant? Every sales guy today have an assistant to be able to tell him what exactly he should prioritize on to ensure that he has a green scorecard all through and through, and much more. So we have Ramesh Srinivas from worxogo to talk about how you can make your sales team superstars through the innovation that they bring to the table. Ramesh, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Pratik. First of all, actually, thanks to SAP and the INDUS community for bringing together startups and customers together, because innovation really is not done by a startup or by SAP alone. It's done, I think, in collaboration with customers. And really, I think the people who are attending in here are leaders in terms of innovation themselves. So thanks for doing that, first of all, Pratik. Second, I'd also like to thank SAP for what I think is a careful selection of the customers, of the startups that you've got in here. We've seen startups talking about data and analytics, then supply chain, manufacturing. I'll talk about revenue and sales, right? So these are all different domains, aspects of an organization. But our startup, worxogo, focuses really on how to increase revenue. And the way we do that is to look at saying, how do we make your salespeople superstars? And in some ways, what I'll walk through is a sporting analogy, because we've taken the concept of what we do from sports. I mean, Olympic season just got over, and all of us, I'm sure, watched some parts of some of the sports or the other. But the people who garner the limelight are the athletes, and they're the ones who go up and get their medals. But the critical people who are behind the scenes for them, who help them actually reach their peak performance and consistently do that, are the coaches. And those coaches play an extremely critical role in each of these athletes becoming superstars. And that's what our product does. Our product is a personal coach. It's a digital coach. So it's a SaaS-based product. It, of course, uses AI, but it's a mobile-enabled product that essentially looks at making salespeople superstars. And so, like I said, it's the same analogy as in sports. And what we look at doing is essentially saying, while all of us are used to digital assistants, I mean, digital assistant is something that kind of helps us. Is it possible to upgrade an assistant to go beyond a product or a tech that essentially helps us to a product and tech that actually advises us, coaches us on a day-to-day basis to do something better? So what does a coach do? And if you look at a top athlete, you look at, let's say, tennis season is going on now, you look at a Djokovic or someone, Djokovic doesn't really need a coach to tell him, how to hit a forehand or a backhand. But what the coach plays is a far more important role. The coach makes sure that on a daily basis, Djokovic is able to reach peak performance, because a number of factors go into peak performance. There is motivation, drive, diet, nutrition, fitness. So there are a whole lot of aspects that need to be taken care of, all of which need to come in together on a daily basis in order for, let's say, Djokovic to hit his peak performance on a regular basis, which he's been doing for well over a decade now. And that's exactly what our product does for salespeople. Increasingly, particularly during this pandemic time, because a lot of sales is now being conducted in what you could call a hybrid fashion, right? There's remote working, there's actually people going out into the field, sitting in an office, but it's a mix of all of these put together. There's an even greater need to help salespeople to prioritize what they need to do on a daily basis, to help them do it, to motivate them in terms of doing it, and to give them feedback on what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, right? In order for them to perform better. So increasingly, we found over the last 18 months, adoption of digital coaches has significantly gone up and is not seen as a replacement for managers, but is complementary to what managers really do. So what is this coaching that I'm really talking about? I'll take an example from our personal lives, right? And in our personal lives, if you look at it, I'll take personal fitness or wellness as an example. And all of us in Jan period do this resolution about, making sure that we are there to a fitness regimen during the course of the year. We are more disciplined about our whatever fitness it is, right? Whether it's walking, running, yoga, exercise, diet, and so on. All of us do this resolution in Jan. And by March, the results are not exactly what you looked at in Jan. The reason is not that we don't know what to do, right? If you look at basic fitness, all of us have enough knowledge about what to do. We know what to eat, what not to eat, what kind of exercise do. The difficulty is not knowledge or information. The difficulty is how do you translate that knowledge, information on an everyday basis into action? So how do you make sure that you get up that early morning and actually execute that fitness program that you've got? How do you ensure during the course of the day that you lay off the kind of food that you shouldn't be eating? So it is bringing and instilling that discipline and making it a habit. That's the difficult part. It's not the information. So if you look at sales tech, it's not very different. All sales tech, without exception, focuses on giving more information to the salesperson, better information, more quality, more timely, more analytics. So it's all about information. And the concept is, if I overload you with information and you know more and more about what to do, you will actually take action. But like I said, right, if you look at our personal lives and fitness, just knowing more and more doesn't mean I take action. It needs to be a combination. So actual action is about 50-60% dependent on knowing what to do, which is information. And the balance is actually having the motivation drive to do it and to take that step from being aware of something or understanding it to actually taking action. And that's what a product does. And how do we do that? We do that actually using very recent advances in behavioral science and behavioral economics. Many of you would be familiar with Richard Thaler. He wrote a book called The Nudge. He became very famous. He won the Nobel Prize 3 years ago for behavioral economics. And he popularized this concept of a nudge. And a nudge is nothing but a gentle push at the right time, in the right way, to get you to take action on something, right? And There are a lot of nudges that are there today in practice, even in our day-to-day lives or on websites that we use itself. So essentially what our product does is, rather than notify me saying I need to take action today, it nudges me to take action. That's much more effective because a nudge essentially gets me motivated to do what I want to do. So what our product does is it sits on top of all the existing enterprise systems that you have. So we don't ask the company to replace any system that they have. So it's all the existing sales tech that's there. It could be combinations of ERPs, SAP, CRM, it could be analytics products that you have, recommendation engines, and so on. So it integrates with all of those products. And if I'm a salesperson, what does this thing do what does our product do every day? Every day, it takes all the data about my performance. It first does some analytics personalized for me to tell me what I should concentrate on today, which is what Pratik mentioned earlier, right? And tell me saying, these are the two most important things that you should do today to improve your performance by the end of the month. Second, it does that by sending it to me as a set of nudges on my mobile. So I look at it and I say, okay, I need to do this. Why do I need to do that? So I can drill into all of that. And then it observes over a couple of days saying, have I actually taken that action or not taken that action? If I have, it finds out, therefore, what is broadly my persona. What types of nudges do I respond to? What types do I not? And therefore, it learns about me more and more over a 4-5 week period, and then gets very good at nudging me the right way for me to take action. So that is the outcome. And as I begin to take action, I get more successful. I obviously rely on this product more and more. So this is essentially what it does. And today, executive coaches are actually quite common at the senior most levels in any company. But from a cost standpoint, it's hard for everybody, let's say large sales forces, to get everyone a personal coach. But that's exactly what this product is. It's a personal coach. Now, we concentrate on 3 or 4 domains or industries or sectors. And all of these are dominated by companies that have large field forces, right? So we have about a little over 80,000 users today of our product across about 35 deployments, cutting across financial services, pharmaceuticals, consumer products, and all back office operations. So those are the segments that we are in today. And if you look at saying concept is great, what are the results that we've really got? We've got some startling results as a result of using this product that companies on the left will show you. So we've got sales increases within a 1-year period from 10 to about 23%. And that's significant depending on the kind of company. But more important than just the final result of sales is also increase in different metrics that salespeople are measured by. Now, if you look at a typical salesperson, they're not measured only on sales. I mean, that's a final outcome. But you normally have about 6 to 7 different KPIs or metrics that are there. Some of them are effort KPIs. If you're on a consumer product company, then some of your effort KPIs would be a journey plan and the number of calls you need to make, the total number of productive calls that you need to make, number of lines cut per call, focus products that you sell, and so on. All of these as a strategy lead to an outcome, which is the final number of the sales or the revenue that you actually get as a salesperson. So the way to actually increase the outcome is to make sure that you increase the effort. And the critical thing, therefore, is to drive a change in behavior of the salesperson, to increase effort on all of these, which finally leads to an outcome. I mean, going back to our physical fitness, right? Our effort is actually the exercise and the diet and so on. The outcome is probably the weight or any other parameters that we use to measure an outcome. But that only comes when you put that effort in. So what our product does really is drive behavior change towards increasing the effort by using the concept of nudges constantly. So that's really what our product is doing. Like I said, it's a SaaS product. It's mobile enabled. We go live within a 3 to 4 week period. So it's very, very easy to deploy for an enterprise. It works across a variety of devices, from a mobile phone through to a laptop or a desktop. And it works for the entire hierarchy. I've concentrated on how it helps me as a salesperson, for example, but it also helps my manager or my boss and so on up the entire chain, because all of them are involved in increasing the performance. Because it's a fairly unique product in terms of being we are actually speaking a behavioral science company that uses technology and not a tech company that uses behavioral science. So we change behavior of salespeople to make them superstars using tech and using an understanding of what types of nudges work and so on. So we've got a number of different rewards over a period of time. Now, rather than us talking about what our product does, I think it's much more powerful if I'm able to show what our customers and what more important, what our end users say about actually using the product. Because in any enterprise product, the buying decisions made by people at the top, the final users are a different set of people, right? In our case, they are final salespeople. What we call feet on street or the salespeople are the actual users of the system. What I'll show is a quick video that walks through what do all of these people feel about using our product. And then I'll pause and happy to take any questions or to interact later on the.
So I think the fundamental shift that we brought in was on the field force nudging that we had started off, and I think we worked with the worxogo. I think we've had a great experience. And the ability to nudge remotely a rep based on his what motivates him, I think it's very empowering.
The data visualization, the dashboards, the reports that are kind of published today are user friendly. Everybody gets to see the data, and those nudges really help. It's constantly helped us in driving performance, positive reinforcement, as they call it, and it's important.
Sales Coach has been one of the most unique and innovative ideas that has been implemented.
Acting as a motivational tool for the sales officers who are working in the market.
While traveling, it is easy to track my as well as my team members' performance.
Helps to pace up the performance in different KPIs and also gives a very friendly competitive environment.
And this tool is helping me to analyze data on the job and give right feedback on right time during joint fieldwork. I can able to give constructive feedback to my team and open them for discussion while doing joint fieldwork.
पता चलता है कि हमें टारगेट दिया गया कितना है, किया अभी तक हुआ कितना है और करना बाकी कितना है.
And with this मुझे बार बार अपनी मेल जाके MIS चेक नहीं करनी पड़ती है. मैं ऑन द वे ड्राइव करते हुए भी या कहीं रुक के भी अपनी OSP की परफॉर्मेंस और उसका डेली रूटीन चेक कर सकता हूँ कि वो आज कहाँ पर है और उसे कितना मेहनत करने की आगे जरूरत है.
You share the feedback, even you can share the appreciation to your team.
So thanks. That's all I had. Happy to interact with those who are interested in understanding a little bit more. We could walk you through a demo in the breakout rooms later. So thanks, Pratik. And once again, thanks SAP for organizing this.
Thanks so much, Ramesh. And I'm sure everybody is now looking forward to having a coach with them, especially for their sales force. And I'll see them pouring into your breakout room as well after this. Now, moving on from there, I would like to welcome Ajit. Ajit deals with a very important topic, and which is about sustainability, which is basically about how do you do your e-waste management with ease. And this is one of the topics which I think many organizations and technology companies have tried to address. Most of us now have huge logs of e-waste that we kind of have to take care of in our respective organizations. EverLoop is making an attempt to solve that problem for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Ajit from EverLoop. Ajit, over to you. Can I have your video on as well, Ajit?
I have switched it on. Can you?
Yeah, I can see you now.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you so much, Pratik. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And once again, thank you so much, Pratik and Mukesh, for this opportunity. So I am Ajit Chandran, the co-founder of EverLoop by SAP. I've been a part of SAP for the past 8 years now, and for EverLoop, apart from being one of the co-founders, I am also the general manager and the head of business. So EverLoop by SAP is one of the latest additions to the Venture Studio, the SAP Venture Studio, as part of the SAP IO program. Now, before we start, a little about e-waste, and I'm sure all of us know what e-waste is. So starting from your laptops, desktops, consumer electronics, to the mobile devices that are already late for recycling and lying at our houses, which I'm sure most of us have at least one of them, all of that contribute to e-waste. After having evaluated multiple customers, starting from corporates, retailers, we identified that until now, there is no proper, easy, and transparent channels to connect all these stakeholders in this, involved in this industry. And we all know that the waste value industry is completely fragmented and dominated by the informal sector. Responsible e-waste disposal is a time-consuming and an overwhelming process for any bulk consumers, be it corporates, manufacturers or retailers, any organizations for that matter. And this is because of the siloed operations and the lack of coordinated approach. The presence of regulatory mandates adds on to the pressure for these corporates to make sure that they have to be disposed in the most responsible manner. But what are the other challenges that the organizations face today? 82% of the e-waste in the country is comprised of IT and telecommunication devices. And with the pandemic, it's only increasing. Adoption of work-from-home policies has led to increased demand for mobile computing devices, which has reduced the usage of stationary desktops and devices. And thus, in order to maintain that operational cost, enterprises have been focusing on recycling these systems, and this has to be done in a responsible manner. Also, according to a research done by one of the recyclers in this industry, 33.4% of the organizations experience mismatch in the asset details during the billing, causing incorrect invoices, which is then followed by a tedious and time-consuming process of re-verifying the complete asset list that was identified. And 34.1% of the organizations find it difficult to prepare and maintain a detailed list of assets for disposal, as many of the organizations have campuses across the country. And it is very difficult to maintain all these asset lists belonging to different campuses in the country. Few other challenges are most of the organizations do not want to go to the market looking for certified and authorized recyclers because of its time-consuming process of onboarding them as a vendor. So getting access to these certified recyclers is also a major challenge. Secondly, data sanitization. All the organizations want to make sure that the data is being taken care of during the disposal process. And they also need transparency in the complete end-to-end process. In addition to this, finally, the documentation that goes on hand with every order with regard to the compliance and regulatory, which is all done manually currently, is also a major problem. Having multiple Excels, mails, SharePoints are all very difficult to manage, and we will definitely end up searching for one or more documents during the audit phase if there is one. And that's why we have EverLoop by SAP. You need not do any drastic changes to your current e-waste disposal process. Rather, as a first step, have everything digitalized on the platform. EverLoop by SAP is a B2B sustainability waste management solution that will help organizations to connect to their existing vendors or new vendors and digitalize the complete e-waste disposal process with transparency and traceability. We onboard stakeholders from both the sides, that is the corporates, retailers, manufacturers on one side, who look for the certified recyclers and refurbishers, and on the other side, the certified recyclers and refurbishers who look for an increased supply of e-waste onto the same platform. And with EverLoop by SAP, there will be no more inconsistencies in the asset list details identified between the stakeholders during the disposal process. You will also be able to manage the asset disposition across all the campuses on a single platform. And you would get access only to the authorized and the certified recycler refurbisher network in the country. You will have one place for all the compliance and order related documentation, which will then be easy during the audit phase at the end of the year. And finally, there would be 100% data security on each and every asset that you dispose using the platform. So we will make sure that you have all the data sanitization related reports also updated on the platform, and which will be accessible to you at a single place. And finally, there you will get an end-to-end transparency in the complete disposal process. That is, from the time you identify what are the assets to be disposed until the final bit of the IT device being recycled. And EWASTE itself has got many segments under it. So as of now, EverLoop can take care of any organization's IT and telecommunication device disposal process, both recycling and refurbishing, and also the responsible recycling of the scrap materials like the adapters, your keyboards and mouses, which is also taken care of the platform. We also are extending the platform to manage battery and hazardous materials, as most of the organizations are currently doing it manually. And our aim is to provide our customers with a single source of truth for all the personas across an organization. So starting from the chief sustainability officers to the IT heads to the actual end users of the platform. And in addition to this, you could get access only to the certified and authorized recyclers in the country, and also digitalize the complete e-waste disposal process. EverLoop not only helps in digitalizing the process, but also in providing transparency in the end-to-end process. That is, from identification of e-waste until the complete recycling and refurbishing wherever possible. And we all know sustainability is very closely coupled with compliance. And one of the largest and the biggest challenges that the customer face today is the documentation that are needed for the compliance and regulatory. EverLoop offers its customers the ability to maintain and create all the needed documentation automatically at a click of a button. Most of the organizations also have an internal approval process across various departments, and we allow our customers to define and customize the hierarchical workflows to help in creating a seamless approval work process, which would then be a web-based as well. And finally, a very important one is to measure the rate of recycling or the sustainability metrics, which is then provided in a personalized dashboard for every organization that's on the platform. It will provide details like what is the amount of e-waste that was recycled, what categories they belong to, the carbon metrics, etc. So these are few value props that we give as part of our platform. And I would want to pause now. I do have a demo as well, which then I could take it up in the during the breakout rooms. I would be happy to take any questions, or again look forward to it at the breakout rooms.
Thank you so much, Ajit. Thanks so much, Ajit. And this is an important, which is very close to my heart as well as to a lot of people I'm sure who joined in the organization, sustainability, and really ensuring that we do not add burden to the environment, right, and try to solve for all the problems that we can. I'm really grateful, Ajit, that you and your team, as a part of your own initiative from within SAP, you're building up this startup as a part of our incubation entrepreneurship program. Thank you so much, Ajit, for your time.
Thank you, Pratik.
Now, I want to move on to the next topic, which is about, we haven't spoken about assets. I'm sure a lot of you really work in the asset intensive space, in the areas where you need to ensure that an AI in assets management is doing wonders these days. And one of the organizations who's making it happen is Algo.ai. And I would like to welcome Nandan Mishra from Algo.ai to really take you through and how you can actually maximize your return on innovation for your industry, especially around asset maintenance through IoT and AI. Over to you, Nandan.
Yeah, thanks, Pratik. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, thank you for this opportunity, and really glad to be a part of this August gathering. And yeah, thanks once again. So without wasting time, so just let me introduce the company. We are Algo.ai. I'll just project it full screen. So we are proudly made in India. We're based out of India, US, and Canada, but we have 6 AI R&D labs at 6 of the IITs. We are a part of the national mission for AI as well. We were in the top 20 startups that were selected by Vedanta Spark recently. We work exclusively with all of them. And then we've worked for over 50 clients, and 6 of them are Fortune 500 companies, and we have global channel partners like Aviva, IMSA, Accenture, OEM partnerships as well. In terms of our products, we work on asset maintenance, which is primarily prognostic health management and a predictive asset performance management. And we also work on process yield, throughput, efficiency, quality, again from an asset angle. We also work on the unstructured data which is present in your plants, be it from the visual side and also the conversational AI. I'll be talking about that slightly. So if you look at our platform, it sits on top of the IT and OT data sources that you have, and we are well integrated with SAP BTP. And we pick a lot of data from SAP BTP, whether it is maintenance related to maintenance or process parameters. I will show you some of those case studies. We also work on visual tools where we are able to write certain new data from the visual cameras into your SAP. And then we have got conversational bots that can help you schedule a lot of things, again, leveraging a lot of data from your SAP and talk to you very dynamically. Some of our customers, we work with sectors like oil and gas, power, then in food and beverages, primarily process and also discrete manufacturing now. So that is what we are doing. Okay, so if in terms of, if you look at operational KPIs that related to your business impact, our product suite basically helps you increase capacity usage, throughput, yield, quality, faster diagnostics, improved monitoring, improved OEE, spare parts visibility. This is primarily around the asset maintenance. Also, if you are into process industry, then reduced emissions, abnormal situation management, reduced lost time injuries, improved SOP compliances. All of these come, and all of this can be done on the data that you've already created for so many years. So I'll just walk you through some of the case studies that represent that. So I'll be firstly talking about iAssets and iProcess, which is about industrial assets and industrial processes and how our system basically talks to this time series data which is there. And we've got a time series DB that basically is connected to the OT and the OT historians, and then also the SAP BTP. So I'll just show you the SAP structure as well. So the first case study I want to bring forth is deployed one at one of the refineries, largest refineries in India, where we are basically predicting 40 to 100 days before any kind of breakdown that happens in that asset. And this helps them predictively manage it. And we've got a phenomenal testimonial here. They've not had any breakdown since 1.5 years in that particular asset. So it's been a very big win for us. It's a super critical asset for their refinery operations. So I'll just show you the demo. So here basically what is happening, this is actually done on, so we do Fiori dashboards as well, but here the client had a particular dashboard preference, which was a purchase license of ClickSense. So we use that. Otherwise the algorithms are integrated to Fiori as well. I'll just discuss that architecture as well. So here what is happening is that we basically are importing the MAB trip tags, and we are basically connecting to almost 90 different tags within the asset, and we are bringing them to a single unit and then applying deep learning based algorithms that is basically giving predicted risk around each of the tags and each of the failure modes. So for example, if you select these tags, you will get the predicted risk across in the asset, you know, and then it doesn't. So this is all built on deep learning, and it requires very less data. To share with you, in this particular case, this is a highly reliable asset, and it's kept that way because it's super critical. So it just failed 5 times in the last 2 years. So we had just that data to predict. So we've been able to build deep learning models using certain class of algorithms that can basically predict this. And then we've been also able to build a diagnostics engine like this. So here the yellow piece basically means that the parameters are working fine. The green ones, but there is some deviation from actual. So we don't require any external benchmarks from maintenance management systems to come up with these alarms. These alarms are dynamically learned over time. And basically, as we move, so I'll just show you how this catches an error and how we are able to. So this is, for example, this DE radial bearing temperature is something that we are signaling to the maintenance team, and they are able to proactively manage this. We are able to give signals 40 to 100 days before, and this is as I said, a flagship thing. Also, another thing that was important was that the asset is not also used by the process. The process is actually determining how the asset will live, you know. So we are also taking care and learning from process data apart from asset data. So here you see asset data and you also see process data. So we are able to learn through both the things. So this is one example. Second, I would like to discuss a process quality engine that we've built. Again, this is one of the engines we are replicating this across many floors of oil and gas, be it raw number prediction, be it diesel blending, be it lot of work to do on quality, yield, throughput, efficiency, C2C3 double bond, or quality of iron processing, or quality in zinc processing. So we are doing a lot of work there. But this is a tool that basically helps the operator come up with a foresight that, okay, what is the predicted value of a particular quality or a lab parameter by which the market will accept it. So the problem is that normally the lab would return 6 hours afterwards, and there will be reactive control on the quality. We are able to learn from real-time operational data and predict the quality almost real-time for the operator, so that he is able to real-time control. Another problem that was there was also a condition which is called lump formation. So that used to choke the reactor. So we are able to predict and basically find out and convey to the operator that, okay, this is the problem, and you can basically I'll show you that. He'll just click OK, and he gets a recommendation on how to avoid this. So this is also a very interesting application of how we are able to use AI for yield, throughput, efficiency, and quality. Talking about a structure, so you have, basically we are taking HANA data and basically OT data. We are integrating, we have connectors to your OT data, and we are integrating it again using SAP integration. And then we have got the Algo.ai enterprise module, which is essentially talking to the HANA module. And then we are using the analytics cloud and the Fury dashboard to basically serve the solution. So these are algorithms that basically talk to them. And then we have got a data integration layer, connectors layer, OT connectors layer that talk to SAP integration. And that's how basically our solution architecture works. Then talking about unstructured data, I'll just, you're doing plethora of scenarios in operational technology where we are able to, even where people cannot go, it's so hot, we are able to monitor those and monitor quality and SOPs to places which are too big to see. For example, this is a very discrete floor where we are able to find complete operational throughput. I'll just show you something. So this is to do more with, is related to ops monitoring. So I'll just show you the dashboard. So in fact, I might be having a better example of this. Yeah. So I just wanted to firstly talk about this, where we are actually, just for example, reading number plates from an inbound supply chain and feeding into your SAP. So that's also being done. I wanted to showcase one more data point. So for example, here, it's a cutting, yeah, it's a floor. So I just want to show you how the floor looks like. So practically, it is not possible to put sensors on this floor because it is, it is tough. So here it's live working, right? So we are able to use deep learning to find out that, okay, what is the material availability? What is the machine utilization? What is the worker utilization? Everything we are able to find out, crowding instances. So complete ops, non-invasive management of the entire floor using AI. And we are able to tell them that, okay, this much work happened in these many minutes and this much throughput you gained. And so how you can price your stuff. So all of those things can be told. And this is something that we have already achieved, all of these. So this is there. So other use cases that we are also pursuing in manufacturing, automotive, and metals and mining are these. For example, optimizing, reducing downtime, reducing power consumption, working on captivation and pulsation, building a digital thread for the entire disparity, optimizing machine health, metals and mining. So this is what we basically do. Textiles, again, we are doing reducing downtimes of looms, optimizing RPMs, predicting maintenance and energy optimization for compressors in oil and gas, remote monitoring, predictive cleaning schedules we are implementing in across refineries. And then in consumer products also, we are optimizing energy requirements using AI-enabled modules. So yeah, I look ahead for more question and answers in the breakout session. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Nandan. So from ops to assets to port optimization and more. So if that's what you want, you have Algo.ai available. And we are towards the close of the presentation round of this session. And we would soon get into the breakouts. And here I would like to welcome back Mukesh, my co-host. Mukesh, can I have you back? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me as well?
Yes, I can see you and hear you. Mukesh, so after this interesting round of demos and presentation by the startups. Mukesh, how would you want to proceed further now?
Thank you so much for handing it over, Pratik. Thanks for all the startup founders to having taken us through their journeys. I've just started a poll. If I can ask the participants to kind of respond to the poll. Now, what is going to happen is I'm going